Oh, hi guys. Sorry, this is loose. Why is this loose? We have a loose connection here. You've got a loose screw. Anyway, don't know why that is. Sorry. Mike from Cornwall. Good day. Chirpy. Hello. Why does it do that? Who else is there? That stewardess mic is pretty tiny. Just butt in there. Not a big engine. But that's probably a good thing. I'm inclined to get way out of control on that. Mark Osborne, digger up. Sorry, what's wrong? Oh, that's no good. We all got that. Dan, Fridge, g'day. Paul, hello. Stephen Lang woke up after I keep him up chatting last night. Sorry. I made it this week. It was a bit of a touch and go there. I haven't been home from work all that long. I had boxes and things to bring, and yeah, it's that sort of a day. It was dark times, and the 10 days of darkness and end of the world and all that stuff is happening this week. So I am sorry that I wasn't as punctual as I always am. So if you don't believe me, go and hit up your local social media. And they know this stuff. I'm just moving some clamps so I can get my head in there and watch the screen. It's a bit more comfortable leaning against this post, which is about what's happening here. David, g'day. Mike, that's awesome. Dan's missed that. Yeah, I can bring you up to speed at some point, but you probably wouldn't listen. Brendan, g'day. Wonder how you get on with your... Does anyone have... Here's a question for Brendan. Does anyone have one of those little Banggood or Chinese upright electric furnaces? Like Myford Boy showed in his video. Marcus Christensen here on the coast has one. It's fairly big, but without going and looking at it, I couldn't tell you what size crucible it'd take, and you still got to lift it out. Someone might have one and might have some sort of knowledge on that. Anyway, Brendan's asking about that. That's over on Discord if anyone wants to pop in there. 1 kilogram crucible isn't very big, Chip. Hey, Craig. So, anyway, what other exciting things have happened this week? Matty's Workshop, g'day. Hope all going well, Matt. Another video out from Matty last night, and I didn't see it yet. But it's always worth a look, so I'll go and have a look a bit later. This is updates on the Land Rover. Finding a foundry that likes 3D printed patterns is probably, it's an interesting proposition anyway. Good luck. Yeah, great workshop tour, Maddie. Hey, Malcolm Till. Rover's coming together. A bit of work in this, as you can see, and it's probably progressed a bit from last time. I posted some of the footage I've got, which is, there's probably enough for another video to get it to this stage. But we haven't got suspension yet, so we haven't really tried it out. I have printed the wheels in white rather than silver because I think they look better. That's just an aesthetic thing. That's something that happened this week. I actually like them in white, match the roof. Put the doors on. Windows in all the doors. And front windscreen. So put the front windscreen on. All these, most of these small pieces were all printed already. I already had the door skins done. Mirrors, hinges, door handles, all those bits were done. Door frame, window frames here. Printed new ones of these with Land Rover emblems on them, which is pretty cool. Back doors printed. A lot of these little bits were already printed in black. So spare wheel carrier. We're going to leave a flat tray in here, I think. There had to be some modifications because that's part of the utility and it's not supposed to fit with this door. But we fixed that. And we've modified the firewall, the bulkhead in there. If you can see that. So that we can reach through between the seats, because putting those seats in there in the back is a bit of a pain. These shockers are bolted into this panel or into the seat, so it needs to be there. And the battery slides in under here, so that's nice and neat and tidy. And when that's shut, the battery's captive and you can't see it. You can't see any of the electrics. So all these hinges were already printed. I had the roof done. Probably going to put a ladder on one side. We'll see how we go with that. Had these windows already in the roof, the 3 door window frames, and had all these window frames done. So basically it's a matter of bolting it all up, but I had to print this panel here and the back door and the front doors and the windscreen, which I've done. There's a roll of blue come. So spare wheels on its way, whether it really needs one even. I don't think these will ever go flat, but we might as well put one on. I ordered another one of them. I should have got it the first time. And whether I'm going to put like a full roof rack on this, I know that I'm going to put a winch ball bar on here. I'm fairly confident that I'm going to put LEDs in all these lights and have them switch on and off. So that's another project. But I've got a working winch that sort of nearly works. I'm waiting for the lathe to get sorted out, which is the next thing. But apart from that, we've got an Landy that looks pretty awesome. And so far, I'm pretty pleased with that. But yeah, you're right. It's not a spare tyre, it's a door handle, and that's where we're at with that. Roof rack will look good. I'm going to have to redraw the roof rack because the one that come with it's not. The build area on my printer is about 5mm smaller than the size of the roof rack. So probably we will add a full size over the top roof rack. I'd like to do that, but we'll see how we go. Snorkel air cleaner is probably what it wants to. Probably someone, Paul pointed out, I think that this is a left-hand drive vehicle, and that's really not right for Australia or England. So I might flip the dash and make this right-hand drive at some point next time I pull this out. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I like the chocolate brown. Everyone says it looks like chocolate. It's just crappy, cheap paint. So we might try and print this in some sort of brown filament, but I'm not really sure that I can be bothered. Anyway, that's it. Rooftop camper, Maddie says. Well, maybe that's an idea. What's the Barocca? Actually, in the Barocca is Watchmaker's Gravers. Actually, there we go. I think that's the rusty ones at the moment. So there you go. Anyway, that's a project that's I've done quite a lot on while I'm waiting for the stupid lathe motor and stuff to sort itself out. Bit of a look at some of the detail on the windscreen wipers. There's quite a few separate parts there. Mirrors, vents, hinges, door handle, filler cap, wheel studs. And in case anyone missed the new video on the Procrastination Nation channel, it's fairly complex underneath too. So, diff, front and back, etc. Roller cow filament. Yeah, I have to think about the leather. Not sure what that needs. I don't think a Land Rover ever come with leather seats. Maybe they did. But anyway, that was it. Is the subs counter working now? Yes. Thanks to John Creasy, got that sorted. So we're there at... Could focus that probably better, maybe. Or not. 6840. It needs a stubby holder on the dashboard. It's got cup holders in the console. But yeah, probably it needs a stubby holder. We have problems. This VFD I bought years ago. Haven't been able to... This is the problem with VFDs. Is that when you go to buy another one and you want one the same, for another machine, the same brand, so that all the cheap Chinese VFDs anyway. You want one so that all the error messages and everything that you've already learnt work across in the new one. You find out that no one imports them or they're not available. This is a Powertran, which is a fairly well-known Chinese company. That's a half decent VFD, I would have thought. Never, in the 5 years since or 10 years, 6, 8 years anyway, since I bought this, the few times that I've looked for one, I've never ever managed to find another one the same. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. I've got another one on the mill, and I bought that. But when I went back 2 years later to buy another one to match that for the lathe, that's not available either. So I've got a third one. It's a bit of a nuisance, actually. Anyway. Yeah, congrats, Craig. Anyone else got any milestones? Hey, JB. Hey, Dennis. Good to see ya. So anyway, this is dead. I don't know whether it's got a dead capacitor. Haven't really had a look inside to see what we could find. I might keep the little fan and a few bits, but don't know whether it's really worth the effort. It's probably just dirty. But this VFD never ever got this panel set up separately to the VFD. That's what I had intended, and that's why I bought the one with the separate panel. Never happened. It's only running the motor up to about 5 Hertz. Over that, there's nothing. Now, I know it's the VFD because I put the motor on the mill, and it runs beautifully. Nothing wrong with it. And I put the old motor on the mill and it runs reasonably beautifully. It's got a rumbly bearing, but apart from that, it's not too bad. So at some point I might put bearings in that and use it for something else. But I've got a new motor and it's not the motor. The issue is this VFD, and I've got a new one coming. So hopefully by next live stream we'll have that all up and running. It's doing my head in not having it. Tried factory reset, tried all that stuff. I think it's dead. Well done, Matty, on 1750. See, you're all catching me. I've actually got to, if I actually post some content, I might get some more subscribers, but that hasn't happened yet. So I'm a bit slack. It probably needs a new bank of capacitors. I'm not going to bother doing it. I'll pinch some bits out of it. The new one was $100, a bit less, so free postage. We'll see. Needs new smoke. That's about it. So that's the lathe update. John Pettit, who's probably not here on the live stream, sent me a drawing for this. Everyone's watched Mr. Pete's video on this, I'm sure. It was a week ago nearly. I've just dialed in my textured sheets for printing PETG and CPE and ABS and stuff, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I thought, well, I'll print this in PETG, which is what this is, and see how it goes. It's got a grubber screw in it. This is John's design, and the grub screw's not long enough, but it's probably not a bad thing. So I have that. Anyone wants the STL, let me know. I'll ship it across. That's the trouble. You missed out the capital C a couple of times. I think that's what it is, Mike. I saw Harold's out of aluminium, and I saw also Oh golly, Chuck's out of PLA. So, what is it? It's a Rose Index, apparently. It's probably not a bad design. I think someone might be making them in the States. I'm not sure about that. Mr. Pete had one. It goes on a bar. It's actually a pretty good thing, to be honest. It goes on the bar. I can see how it might be useful. And if you're setting the bar up on 2 V-blocks or in a vise or something, you clamp that on and set it up with the square. And then you can index the bar with the square again and get it 90 degrees out or 60 degrees out or 45 degrees out. So probably not a bad thing. And I think that's plenty solid enough for and accurate enough for good work. So really pleased with this. This is PETG from my printer on the new textured sheet, which is just the answer for this stuff. So there we go. Probably more challenges in making this than you think, I think, out of steel. That's where I'm at with that. I'm sure Harold managed it, but I'm sure that he got the way Harold does things is he gets started on a project and discovers there's more to it than he thought, and just a bit more complicated than he thought usually. So I just drew this out and realised that there's some fairly I just put it into my CAD design from John's drawings and discovered that there was some fairly interesting geometry in the hole in the middle and stuff. Had CNC machine, it'd be really easy. Hey Darren. Maddie needs a rotary table. Yep, that's important. Someone get Maddie a rotary table. So there we go. How do you keep the work centered? You don't have to. If you're just putting my grub screw's not long enough really for most of these things that are here in the workshop. What do we got here that's about the right size? Got no idea. We've got a bit of bar here. Yeah. No. If you put a bit of bar in here, it doesn't matter whether it's centered, as long as it's locked on, because you can just set this up with a square off the table and set it up with a square off the table there. It doesn't matter whether it's over here or up here or down here. That's not important. It's still going to be square. And the same with the hexagon and the 8-sided one, is that when you set it up, it doesn't really matter what the length of these sides are, whether they're all equal or what. It's just as long as they're all on the right angle, because when you turn that over, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter which way or how far it is across here on the table, because you're just setting it up with a square. So fairly useful bit of gear, I think. Probably going to get a bit of use. Probably a bit big for me, but there you go. In conjunction with V-blocks or a vise, pretty useful for getting a bit of round bar, 90 or 180 degrees in the vise probably. Don't know how accurate it would be, but it's as good as anything. It's probably not you know, it's all right. It's probably not too shabby. You could scale it up and down. That's exactly right. I could scale this up or down, but this was John's drawing. Obviously, he's learning CAD and wanted to do some messing around, so he's sent a nice SolidWorks drawing. and with renderings and all, and I just copied it out with his measurements, which weren't quite right. And proof of concept, I said, well, this doesn't quite add up, and sent him an email back. But we got one that works, and might be cool. Anyway, that was a project. Actually, this happened from about 7 o'clock last night, and when I got up in the morning, it was finished. So that's about where we're at with that. This PETG is really nice. It's a nice, square, sharp, solid engineering style plastic. I really like this. Got a parcel today. This is a huge shout out to JB. Big box come sandal. And it was pretty quick. Don't know what's in the box, dog food or something, but anyway, it was pretty quick getting here. From Western Australia. Thanks JB for this, but this was surplus to his requirements, I believe, and he sent it across. So I'm just going to get everything out bit by bit and have a look, because you can't see in the top of the box. So there's a roll of what looks like cheap PETG. Not sure about that. JB will tell us anyway. Lakeshore Carbide. Okay, that's the one. To be honest, I've not been watching a lot of American YouTube, because those guys are pretty crazy at the moment. We just let them all die down and get back to normal. I'm not going to touch on that subject probably tonight. I don't know. I've got some fairly strong views on some things. Probably you take away a range of control off people, and everyone's got strong views on things and verging on extremist. Yeah, you could use angle parallels with it too. Dennis, you're doing great. We really appreciate you being here and being the... Everyone's pretty much normal, I think. You can't jump out and say that people change overnight into this extremist, crazy people. What it has done is given them another platform where they can be themselves a bit, and that's probably a good thing if people live and let live. Haven't got a problem with that, but I jumped on We Me tonight for a bit on someone's insistence, and that's cool, but in reality, there were sides of people in their profiles that I saw there that I really wondered whether I wanted to know any more about. I mean, I knew it was there in the background, but I hadn't really got as far as being in a position where I wanted to discuss it. So I'm not convinced that I'm going to spend a lot of time over there. But no, normal's a strong word. Anyway, it's a roll of what I think is probably probably PLA. Don't know. And a roll of something else. This says it's ABS, so maybe that one is too. I'm not sure. And another one. Could be anything. Nothing written on that one. Darren was there for about 30 seconds. Yeah, I've lasted about 30 seconds, but yeah, I don't know. If you want somewhere that's a bit judgmental free and you can put up crap and a fairly safe environment that we're not going to, I mean, we're going to laugh at you about it, but it'll be good natured. Discord's good because there's a few of us there and we're all good friends, and there's always someone to talk to whatever time of night and day you're on. It's fun. Jump on my Discord channel. Stephen's over there too, and he's doing good. Stuart Hingston, g'day. Yeah, keep safe on the streets, Dennis. Really, please. We'd miss you, absolutely. This is a roll, half a roll, 3/4 of a roll of ABS. It's awesome. There's all these things I want to try and I can't really afford to buy. This is colour change ABS, which is fun. I think it probably changes colour under heat. I'm not sure about that. Not sure about that. Gonna have to Google that one. This one says it's ABS too. So white ABS, that might be, that's probably something my printer will manage to print. And it'd be interesting to get some have a play with that. This of course is nylon. I'm really, the jury's out on whether I'm going to handle that. Yeah, do stuff you enjoy. It doesn't impact on anyone. That's an awesome thing. That's a really good way to look at life. And Stephen's retired. He says he's busier than he's ever been. So this is quite a parcel. That's awesome. Awesome, JB, that you sent it. Another roll of nylon. And this one here. This could be ABS. Oh gosh, hang on. I'm going to move this back. You can't see anything here. This one here could be ABS. It could be nylon. Not sure about that. We will consult as we go, JB. But it's probably ABS on that roll. So that's definitely nylon. So we might have a mess with that. I'm not sure how successful that's going to be. Because even on the best printers, that's a bit of a challenge. But that's pretty exciting. And thanks heaps, JB. I believe the reason that JB's getting rid of all this is it's 1.75mm and his printers all run 3mm now, which is an upgrade for a long time in the future for me. Now, I've got about 30 rolls of filament here, and I'm going to need some sort of a shelf or some sort of a system to keep them dry, and especially nylon, which sucks up water. I'm not sure what to do about that. We'll see. But we probably need a dehumidifier or something to keep some of the stuff dry. I think all this has water problems and you can't print it when it's damp. Anyway, big box of filament incoming. Some fun there if I get time to mess around with it. Mike says, now you are. Yeah, that's right. We all can relate to that. Shout out to Poppy if he's watching. New video unboxing some stuff from Poppy today. Who else did I see on my video list? I really haven't had a good look tonight. You all have videos pop up all the time, and there's some pretty good content, so you should check that out. Anyone who's in this list, if you're watching on the outside, when live streams finish, watch at least a video from someone and subscribe to them, because everyone has cool videos. Click on someone's profile and see what they're up to. Bench isn't clear. The cone of cleanliness there is sort of half clear. It's not real good, actually. But we'll get there. Again, get the lathe all back together and we can start putting junk away again and getting things tidy. Which will be awesome. Really can't wait to get that back together. So as soon as the VFD comes, I'll rewire this and get it going. I think I'm sort of half rewired already. I've got the wires strung and somewhere to put it and all that stuff. So it's just a matter of drilling a couple of holes and bolting it on and putting 4, 5 or 6 wires or something in, and we should be good to go. So there we go. Yeah, light bulb in the cabinet's probably not a bad idea. Dry filament's probably bad. PLA, when it does get dry, gets brittle, that's right. But nylon's androscopic, I think is the word you use. It just sucks up moisture, so that's going to need some drying out, no matter where we are with it. Hey Matt, it's good to see you. So, what else is happening? What other exciting things? Probably not very much. Put this away out of the line. It's over here in the... This is from Bill Baggins in Tasmania. I guess you all saw this. It's a beautiful knife. Big thanks, Bill. Really, it's a pretty special bit of gear. If you have a look there, I don't know if you can focus on that. Can we focus there? You can try. There's a little B there for Bill. Really like this, and for trimming 3D prints, it's just the thing. I mean, seriously. Just the thing. It is excellent, really. But it's a bit late for Bill, and he'll be having his pre-bedtime nap down in Tasmania. So we don't see him on live stream. It should wake him up, but I think he'll be sort of struggling a bit with that. I don't know how you wake him up. Apart from that, Machine Shop projects, there's not a lot of progress, and I do apologise for that. I feel like it's a long time since I put up a video on YouTube. I really feel a bit slack about that. I really hope that the next video on the 400 will be the one that it runs on Patreon. I really do. And I really hope I can get it going. But anyway, we'll see. Oh, that's exciting, Maddie. Be pretty excited to see. Sounds like you got onto some casting, so that's good. It's going to say if you wanted to see get patterns done, we could probably sort something out. Has metal in all shapes got very expensive? I'm not sure about that. Not sure about that. Let's have a look. This is aluminium. This was about, on eBay, this was about, can you think about $20, right? This was about 14. That's just 10, 20, bright mild of some sort. For a man cave, the block of cast iron to make the rest of this contraption was about less, I don't know, it was about $30, I think. I don't know, I can't remember. So, metal's expensive and tool steel's expensive, but I'm not sure whether it's going up or down, to be honest. Someone else might have some more input into that. Now, good stuff, Matt. That's awesome. If there's anything you can't do, well, we can see if we can sort it out. I reckon between the lot of us, we could do something pretty cool. I reckon we could sort something out for Matt if we need some, if there's something he can't find. Anyway, there's nothing else happening here in Queensland. There's no coming events that I've seen or anything like that. I renewed my membership for the Queensland Vintage Machinery Association, which is exciting. Not really. Didn't even get like I got a insurance certificate in the mail in an envelope on its own, no word of explanation or anything. So they don't communicate a lot. So that just arrived the other week, or probably a month ago now. Got an envelope with that in it, and so must have renewed everything. But yeah. $40mm 41 4500 long costs $58. See, that doesn't seem too bad for me. That's a pretty solid bit of steel. $60 for that. What's that? 40mm 4500 long. What's that's about 10 kilos, is it, Matt? What would that weigh? 40mm 500 long. Yeah, I reckon it's probably 12, 13 kilos. So for $58 Australian, it's not that bad. It might be 15 kilos even. It's pretty heavy. When you look at this bit of 50mm, that's 50mm, 60mm long. I reckon there's a kilogram in that. So probably 100, it's 5 or 6 kilos. So it could be 10 kilos. Don't know. I would say $10 a kilo for decent steel is not, and steel that you know actually what it is. It seems like a pretty good deal. So 38mm for 1 metre, 39 UK is about. Yeah, the thing is though that you've got people over there, and they've got people buying it, so they've got a bit of competition because people tend to keep stuff in stock. Whereas here in Australia, you keep a length and there's a cut and charge on it usually and all those sort of things. So I would say that's not too shabby. Um, 5 kilo, there you go. I looked up 40 in 1.5 inches, and it's, yeah, £37, which is about the same price actually. About the same price. I don't think steel's getting particularly expensive any more than it was. I think that probably... See, the thing is, tool steel in particular, when I used to buy off Interloy, and I have an account with Interloy, which is a real pain in the neck of a thing actually. I have a casual account with Interloy, which are a tool steel supplier here in Australia. And I used to buy off them, but their delivery charge was $70 for a start, no matter what you bought, and their minimum order was $250. Now you had to buy $320 worth of stock or something before you even saw anything. So your $370 worth of stock might have been those two bits there, you know. But that was the minimum charge, so that's what they charged you. You could probably buy 2 lengths of that for the same price. But they don't publish prices, so you don't know whether you're getting the same price or a different price or a worse price or a better price than big manufacturers or from Caterpillar Australia or someone who's buying a lot of the stuff. It's a pretty good idea that you're not getting the same scaled price because it's the way retail works. But you're not really getting a good deal there either, so they cut themselves out of the market a bit. And I don't buy off them. And that's why guys like Man Cave and Red Metalworks and Williamson Metals and Time Valley Metals, those sort of guys who are on eBay, do so very well because no one else wants to sell 400 millimeters of 20mm bar. Scrapyard's the same here. People tend to... Some scrapyards are okay, and in places there are scrapyards that are awesome and love them. In Tasmania still there's scrapyards that you can walk into and buy what you like. You haven't got a clue what any of it is, and you've got to be a bit educated to try and work it out. But here in Queensland, the main scrap merchant Sims Metal, and they're a big international company, and they won't let anyone in their yard past the sales office, and they won't let staff sell anything out of the yard because it's all fixed, it all gets recycled. So that's probably a HR thing, or like probably a safety thing. I don't know. It's a liability thing, I guess. But you're wasting your time going to the scrapyard to buy stuff. Yeah, you're right, Craig, and it's not a bad idea to support those guys, even if they are a little bit more expensive, because you've got to realise that they're buying an 8-metre length or a 6-metre length of something that they've got to take on the chin and expect to sort of have a little bit of confidence that they're eventually going to sell, and chop it up and sell it to people in bits 100mm long. And I don't know, it's sort of, they're not just selling 2 bits and covering their costs and selling the rest to someone else and making a profit. I'm guessing that they're not putting a whole lot on it, and they're stuck with some right to the end, to the last bit or the last few bits. They're not actually making a profit on it. So that's what I think. Well, that's nice. Darren, you need friends like that. Hope you guys are doing okay, Darren. I'm thinking of you over there. So that's the way it is. I know in Tasmania you can still buy from scrapyards, and I mean, Dad still does that. He goes down and has a look around, but he's got mates in the industry as well that he's known for years, and they kind of look after him. But here in Queensland, there's no one. I mean, there's a local scrapyard. He's 3 kilometres from where I am, and they're not interested in even. I'll give you a dollar price on whatever you bring in, but they're not particularly interested in moving anything or looking through anything or keeping anything aside. Being down that road. Hey, Matt, good to see ya. People will sell you bar ends. To be honest, go in Friday afternoon and I know people are looking for beer money, and I have this theory that if you've got a ute or a car with a boot in it, and you've got someone gives you a lift out to the boot with something, and you've got half a carton in there, and you sort of peel a couple of cans out of it for the guys in the workshop on Friday afternoon, that goes a long way to getting getting some help next time you need something. So that's just my little theory. Mick Engineering, g'day. That's the low relationship that you need to build. I'm not sure making the phone calls particularly helpful, but what you need to do is be there and say, hey, look, what you got? Bit of a risk, yeah. They get drunk. You got to get them home from the shop, so it's really no worse than that. I mean, it's no worse than going shopping. Hey, Nigel, good to see you. Tool steel's something you've got to talk to your suppliers about. I know that Man Cave here in Australia gets onto a bit occasionally. I've got a couple of 3 or 4 checks that I bought off him last time when he got some, and I don't mind spending the money for stock if he's got like blanks of tool steel and stuff. And hopefully when I've got another half horsepower on the lathe, I'll be able to actually machine some of it. It must be out there. Open container alcohol, eh? That's a different story, Craig. Hey, Bill. Good day. We were just talking about you. Anyway, that's my take on scrapyards and on engineering companies. I've worked and been around engineering companies all my life, and tend to think if you want something, I'm good at work because I can start up a conversation with someone who might be able to, who has metal suppliers on their t-shirt or whatever, and if they think I'm doing them a deal, well, they can probably do me a deal too as well. But networking with people is hard work. Take care, Dennis. Be good. Have fun. Go and put some pants on for the meeting. Good to see you. So the trouble is with Biometal though is that you need projects that need to be done, and I've been slack. I really have, and I can't say that enough. I've got 3 or 4 projects here that I've got all the materials and there's no excuses except I haven't put the time into. So that's where we're at. Thanks, Mark. Still got stickers on the bench here from Go Create. Go and check this guy out. Excellent channel. Awesome build and some tool making as well. You should be subscribed to this guy. Also, Blondie Hacks. You should be just subscribed to Blondie Hacks. She's awesome. She's got a steam engine running pretty nicely, actually, considering. I shouldn't say that, but she's made a big engine on very small equipment. And I'm a little bit proud of her for that because it's not something I would have liked to tackle. So you should go and check her out. Hey, Randy, good to see you. And Rustanox, g'day. Hope you're doing all right. Now, I was going to say something about the S50 Stuart, which is quite a nice little engine, but it's probably not the nicest one, I don't think. If it's something I mean, everyone's messing around making them, and there'll be a couple of build series that are really worth watching on that. But it is a tiny little engine with fairly basic castings. Like the castings are pretty basic with it. There's no center cores or anything. And there's some pretty fiddly bits in it. Like it's not big. Age building one, I think, too. Stephen's making one or repairing one. Sorry to hear that, Rustanox. I hope it's been all right, and I hope you've done all right and you've escaped without COVID or anything. The PM research, the small PM research, the number 7 and the number 3 or whatever it is, they're pretty nice engines. They're pretty nice castings and they're nicely put together and it's a good design. It's a bit more simple. I mean, it's piston valve, but it's not a shabby engine at all. I'm looking in old model engineering magazines and things, and I probably shouldn't be because I've got way too many projects. But looking at Muncaster's drawings from 1905, and there's some really awesome stuff. I'll get one. The floor's not a shelf, they say. I've got to put some of this stuff away before bed. The little vertical tin's nice too. And Tinker John did one. Did you ever see it running? That's a bit rough. Any progress on the carb for the big model engine? No, not yet. Waiting for the motor for the VFD for the lathe, and then we might get kind of serious about it for a couple of weekends and get it all running. That's where we're at. This is Model Engineer. The Model Engineer, Volume 13. Volume 13. Stephen, I didn't say that, but there you go. Excellent moustache, though. I've got to give him that. This is Volume 13, which is 1905. Model Engineer and Electrician. The Journal of Practical Mechanics and Electricity. This is an awesome magazine. If you ever see any of this early, they're worth having. There's some pretty cool stuff in here. Model Electric Locomotive, which is still be an awesome engine. High-speed steam engines. State-of-the-art locomotives that were new on the tracks in 1905 and pretty awesome stuff. Now, this is the original of Muncaster's book on model steam engines. If you can find Muncaster's book, which is a little paperback, it's well worth getting because it's awesome. Muncaster must have been a steam engineer because all his engines were pretty much based on full-size service, and they were real engines. They're not just messing around toys. Muncaster's engines are pretty nice. High-speed engine. Now, if we have a look at this high-speed engine, we discover that it's 3-inch bore and 3-inch stroke, and the flywheel is about 14 inches diameter. So it's a pretty chunky little engine. But been looking at this, and it'd make a really nice model if I had bigger equipment, but I haven't, so it's not going to happen. Small gas engine galvanizers. There's lots of pretty topical stuff in here. Model railways, signalling systems, telephone connections. Some electricity projects. There's a tangent galvanometer. No idea what that is. So I guess it's some sort of a measuring system. There's some lines for a boat. There's, I'm going to go over a bit. This was a weekly magazine back then, so I've no idea what that thing is. It seems to have a lever, and it has silver filings and blast plugs and ebonite corks, and a thing called a coa and a commutator with a lever on it. So, good question. I think it's probably part of this, which is wireless telegraphy apparatus. So if you wanted to make a telephone, Get sick of your iPhone and want to get off the grid? I've got the picture. Don't throw that challenge up to Matty, because, yeah, he probably will find you one. Model electric tram cars. Some pretty awesome stuff in this. So there's another Manchester engine, which is also pretty chunky. 16 inches high on the column, so pretty big engine, high speed engine, capable of doing some pretty serious work. If you're going to run a self-sufficient homestead off a steam engine, that would be a good place to start, JB. Just letting you know. So there we go. Model Engineer early stuff's really pretty cool. There's a lot of good stuff in it. And a lot of it, rather than being models of old-fashioned stuff, is models and miniatures and laboratory models of state-of-the-art stuff back then, which is something I guess has changed in model engineering. No one's making models of state-of-the-art stuff now. Well, people are, but it's few and far between, whereas people in their workshops in 1905 were making some pretty cool high-tech stuff. Batteries, steam engines, gas engines. And by today's standard, it's pretty basic, but some pretty cool stuff. Anyway, that's my soapbox for the day. It was all a bit more accessible, and it's a bit more... You're right, it's a bit more basic, but probably we have technology that's accessible now too. And I remember back in the 80s when I was at school, it was a cool thing to... People were making ruby lasers in home shops and things like that, in laboratories. And it's not something you see anymore, but that was state-of-the-art stuff, and that sort of captured my imagination a bit too, but it never ever happened. Whereas nowadays, state-of-the-art means that you can't see any moving parts, and there's really not a whole lot of interest for me in something that's basically moving pixies inside a copper track on a board. You know, it doesn't really fire me up, but it'd be nice if we were making mechanical stuff that was kind of state of the art. Hey, Paddy. Yeah. I remember reading National Geographic in the 80s and thinking that Honda's cutting edge work on ceramic engine blocks and engine cylinders and heads and things was fairly interesting, actually, even from a purely theoretical point of view. It was kind of pretty cool stuff. Now, nothing's ever happened with any of that, and they have tried some pretty odd, over-the-top stuff, but Honda in recent years have come back to being pretty run-of-the-mill automobile, and they're pretty standard. In fact, I read somewhere that Honda's new models haven't really updated in the last few years as far as being any real refinements on them. They're just the same engine, same bits. And maybe they've realised that throwing money at technology is probably doesn't make the cars any more reliable, and doesn't make them any cheaper. But interesting. I don't know if anyone's still listening to this, but that's kind of where my mind was going. Yep. Everyone's browned out there. I'm sorry about that. But if you Google that, and I did go back and Google that recently, that Honda and their ceramic engine block experiments, you can't find a lot about it, to be honest. There's not a whole lot on the web about it. So seems to have gone by the wayside a bit. The other thing you see a lot in here is static electricity generators, right? Wilmstor's and Van de Graaff generators, and coils and Leyden jars and spark mechanisms. Primarily for this major two side hobbies, which culminated in this thing called X-ray photography, which was kind of huge at this time. People were thinking that this was, you could actually see bones inside people's hands and it wasn't a trick. And this is the way of the future, and we can do this in our home shop. We can make like exposed plates, and we can excite them, and we can mess around with a bit of radium and make our own x-rays and take a photograph of them and develop the photographs in our darkroom and have something that's kind of crazy high tech for 1905. Even for now, we wouldn't dream of doing this, maybe because we know it's dangerous, but it's madness. And the teeth started falling out and stuff. So that was one hobby that was very, very cool then, and then in the 80s and 90s, when I started reading Model Engineer and old copies of Model Engineer, and starting reading things like National Geographic and a few other technical publications too that had some pretty cool stuff in them. The big thing was holograms, and making holograms and capturing holograms and transferring holograms to paper and all that sort of stuff. Now, you very rarely see a hologram except on kids' stickers nowadays. So what happened there? Why aren't we... There must be people out there actually doing this work and messing around with it in their own garages, but that can't be much more far. I mean, you would not think in this day and age, in 2021, that making a hologram is all that much further behind making an X-ray or a steam engine, or like a proper workshop steam engine, or a telephone, or a wireless system in your own workshop in 1905, because that was what people were doing. I mean, this book was full of it every week. People had amazing... They were making some amazing stuff. Brush discharge photographs, things like that, were pretty cool. So anyway, why? Yeah, there are people out there doing it, but it's not common practice in the model engineering workshop. As far as high tech goes, I guess as far as tool making, I have friends who are chasing microns and submicrons and making precision equipment, and doing it successfully. Case in point, this beautiful little sign bar, sign plate from Solid Rock Machinery, or Solid Rock Machine Shop. It's a really nice bit of gear. Really nice. And it's precision. It's higher precision than anything that I will ever be able to achieve. And that's pretty cool. And I guess it's high tech for now, and it's much more high tech than anyone in this magazine was making back then. I mean, the average hobbyist wasn't, or even the average machine shop, wasn't chasing tenths. They were chasing thousandths and sometimes getting it. But mostly they were just making 2 bits that fitted together properly. And we have progressed, and there are things that we can do, or with various degrees of sophistication in the workshop. We've all got better measuring equipment, we've all got better machines, we've got DROs, we've got things like that. But you very rarely see people making anything from current day or from the future. I mean, projected, this is what things are going to be. I mean, no one's making cars that fly with tail attachments on a trailer, and they're all things that I remember seeing in old magazines that people were doing in their home workshops. Maybe we're all just safety conscious. Maybe we just don't want to kill ourselves. Anyway. Hey, Brian. That's awesome. No one's come up with it yet, Paddy. Haven't got there yet, but it probably will be invented at some point. Hey, Ian. So anyway, there we go. I could go on for hours on this particular pet subject of mine, but making steam engines, and we're making vintage. I mean, I seem to make vintage designs of things. Like, I don't think I've made anything for as far as a model. Oh, Myford Boy's engine is probably, that's a current one, but most of the stuff I make is at least 30 or 40 years old, the design, and some of it's 100 years old. So anyway, and stuff's still as topical as it was there. Notes on the treatment of tool steel by JMT. Before going on to speak of this treatment, I must commence by giving a very short description of tool steel. That's actually a pretty interesting article. So you sit down and just read it. And it's awesome. But a lot of this stuff that's in here was actual, like, current production machinery. There wasn't actually any there's a Gothic bridge, so there was some stuff from the past, but more likely most of these drawings were current cutting edge stuff. So there's a fair bit on the treatment of tool steel. It looks like it's about a 6-part article. Anyway, one of you guys needs to make holograms. That's where I'm at with that. People did write proper articles back then. People should still write proper articles back now. There are still magazines out there screaming for subscriptions and for content. I've noticed while COVID's been and lockdown's been on, a lot of content in Model Engineers Workshop and Model Engineer in the UK has been reruns or old content that they're republishing, and that's okay because some of it's interesting and we missed it the first time round. But it probably speaks that they're not getting enough content, and that's a bit of a pity, because I think anyone who's in this chat or watching this video probably grew up on books like this rather than the internet. And realistically, there was a lifetime of inspiration in 100 years of Model Engineer magazine, and Practical Mechanics and Hobby Mechanics and Hobbies Illustrated and all those magazines. Awesome stuff. Some of it was a bit far-fetched. I mean, Practical Mechanics was notorious for not quite having enough detail to actually make something. You sit down with the magazine article and think you're going to make this, and when you get halfway through you realise you don't have enough information. However, early years of Model Engineer, I've discovered that to be true too, because if you look at my Stuart 400 engine, there's really not enough information to build that. But yes, you're right. Videos we make are probably important as well, to be honest. Meccano magazines are pretty cool too. And just so you know, this whole social media thing with targeted ads and no privacy and people knowing what you had for lunch and breakfast, it's not a new thing. The ads in this in 1905, this is a bound copy. It was a bit of a pain. If I buy bound copies, I try and get them with the original ads in them, because they're the most of the fun, but this one doesn't. But the ads for these were pretty targeted. I mean, you bought the magazine, you bought advertising paid for, in part, for your reading experience, and the ads were targeted pretty heavily at you. If you look through the ads, there's probably something you wanted. And it's the same today with Model Engineer magazines and science magazines and electronics magazines, 3D printing magazines, any of those things. National Geographic magazine, if you still buy, I mean, is the ads are pretty targeted. So that's nothing new. Anyway, good day, Scott. Not going to watch the documentary, sorry. But I personally haven't got an issue with targeted ads, because there's 1,000 things that you could have ads for that I really am not interested in. So, and psychologically, etc., 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 and at a subliminal level, probably it's doing you damage, but probably not any more damage than paying $7 or $8 for a magazine that was half ads, like Model Railroader magazine from America, for example, when that used to come out. That was over half ads. You know, there was more ads in that than actual content, and you actually paid to read the ads, and it's a bit strange. But anyway, It does, yeah. That's exactly right, Tommy. And hey, Tommy, that sparks an idea. And the ads in Model Engineer in 1905 are amazing. I mean, they're most of the fun, and I'm glad that there were the ads, and I'm glad that people preserved them on some level in some of them. This one hasn't been. You saved about half the magazine and half the binding cost if you took all the covers in the first 5 or 10 pages out of each one and the last couple of pages. So it's a pity, really, because covers and ads for these were amazing. But it's sort of, you can't get around it, and there's this big evil thing called social media that we get our information from, and we go to for some sort of confirmation of who we are and what we do, and some sort of relevance, I guess. And to be honest, I'm not sure it's a whole lot different than buying Model Engineer in 3 weeks or a month's time or 2 months' time to see if they printed your letter or your reply to the letter that you posted to them by snail mail with a stamp. Or to see if one of the authors replied to your letter, you know, about their article. These were all things that were pretty amazing, and it's kind of the same as leaving a comment on YouTube's. I mean, we're interacting nearly on them. There's a 5 or 10 second lag, but we're kind of interacting directly on this. Oh yeah, absolutely, Craig. You're right. It's not the product ad. It's like the stupid questions. Would you get vaccinated or whatever? I mean, they're the things that really screw up the whole world. But anyway, take care, Chirp. It's probably your bedtime. So, and to be honest, most of those divisive or so forth social media things you're better off without and better to leave alone. And if you do see something and see yourself posting or taking the time to post something on that, it's time to actually make some content and post a picture of something you made. That's where I'm at with that. That's important. You need to remember that. Get some sleep, Chirp. Good to see ya. I've probably rattled on for long enough anyway on this. It's pretty awesome to catch up with you guys. Sit here and look at a blank desk for an hour and a half is pretty amazing. Listen to me parrot on and join in a bit when you think that I'm absolutely wrong or absolutely right. Either way. But I guess my pet thing in 2021 is to say, write a magazine article, write an old-fashioned printed magazine article with pictures and send it in to someone and see if you can get it published. That should be everyone's goal for 2021, and it might make the world a better place. And it'll certainly make your life a better thing because you're not trolling through social media trying to get instant gratification for stuff. Anyway, it's getting late. And it's hard work, Mats. It's probably less hard work than it was, though. That's where I'm at with that. It's probably the time at the moment to get stuff published because no one's no one else is writing stuff, and they're a bit short on stuff. Anyway, I'm going to go. Take care, everyone. Be kind to each other. New video on my other channel. Check it out. If you have a look down the bottom in the description, there's a link tree. Click that and the link, and that'll give you directions to go to see all that stuff. There's a new video on that this week. I will have the lathe going and an update on that next week, I hope. All going well. And big thanks again, JB, for sending a box of stuff. And thanks, Bill, for sending this. We had a look at this again. Thanks, Bill. And thanks, John Creasy, if you're watching, for the help with the subscriber counter. You know how to make this climb up. And there's no subscriber counter for the other channel, but if you go and watch the video, click the subscriber link. Really would appreciate it. Anyone who's not feeling so good, and there's a few of you, I know that. Rustinox, and who else is out there? Darren. There's a few of you. You're such an authority on that, Paddy. I think you should write that article. Anyone who's not feeling so good, I hope you're getting better. Thanks for tuning in. Really appreciate your company and really appreciate your thoughts. And this to me is an amazing inspiration to get through the next week and actually make some content. So I really appreciate that. Be kind to each other. Don't do anything stupid. And if you're going to march in a protest, make sure it's a cause that's worthwhile. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm out, and we'll see you next week.